I want to talk about how you can launch a business in a matter of weeks, if not days. If you're spending more than weeks or days to launch a business, you're wasting time and money for the reasons that we just discussed. But that's the traditional model of launching businesses. And that's why traditionally launching a business takes time, it takes a lot of planning. That's how we did .com startups in the 90s. We spent months and months developing businesses. In many cases, years. They were in stealth mode, if you remember that word. And then suddenly they launched after developing this product, and they spent millions of dollars on this big PR launch to push it out to the public. And in many cases, these failed. I mean, you look at companies like Webvan or Boo.com. In many cases, these projects failed because they spent so long developing a product without any customer feedback. And the problem is once they're committed to that process, that starting point, that waterfall product development process, as it's called, it's unstoppable, because you start the project, it's shunted onto the next department, and it's just this train that gathers momentum until it launches, and in many cases it fails. So what I want to share with you now is this idea that you can launch fast, and you can launch in a matter of weeks, if not days. Now, there's a book called The 7-Day Startup by Dan Norris, which I thoroughly recommend, which promises that you can launch a startup in 7 days. Now, I think it's a little bit fast for most people, but it sets the agenda that this should be measured in days and not months or years. Jason Knapp wrote a book called Sprint. He's an ex-Google guy, and he wrote about how they developed projects in Google. For example, when they developed the Gmail inbox priority feature. Now, you've got to think about this. If you're developing a feature, it's not like you're launching a new business and you're pushing it out to maybe a handful of customers. If you're launching a new feature for Gmail, it's like a new business in itself, because you're pushing that out to hundreds of millions of users. So if it goes wrong, it goes wrong big time, and people leave the product and so on. And it becomes not just a negative issue for your customers, but it goes out, and you get everybody writing about it in the press and the media and so on. So the cost of making a mistake is very high for this particular scenario. So Jason Knapp said that when they launched the Gmail inbox priority feature, the bosses gave him and his team a month to put this together and to get it right. And at first, when he heard that they only had a month, he sort of, almost spat out his coffee. He couldn't believe it. But then, working through this, he realized that actually, the shorter the time that we have, the more productive we become. Now think about that. The shorter the time we have, the more productive we become. So if you're in business and you're launching your business, if I was to give you 2 years to launch that business, and enough money to burn through to get to that point, you would take 2 years to launch the business and burn through all of that money. But if I was to give you 2 months and a tenth of the money, 10% of the money, you would do it within a budget of 10% and do it within 2 months. Because the human brain and the human being is a very resourceful thing. We managed to pull this thing together. What happens is when our back's against the wall, we work so much better and more effectively. So that's why I want to share with you this idea that you should be looking at launching your business within a matter of weeks, if not days. I mean, I look at a time frame of 4 weeks as ideal for launching a business. Some people can do it faster than that. Some people a little bit less than that, right? A little bit more than that, sorry. So days, weeks, not months and years. And if you remember, when you go on vacation, the last time you went on vacation, and you had all these kind of things that you needed to do, these things that you needed to square off, and emails that needed to be sent and letters that needed to be signed and all that kind of stuff, right? That had just been kind of hanging around for some time, right? And then you got this vacation thing going up where you're going away for a week or 2 weeks. So you've got to get everything locked down by that point. So what kind of happens is, your productivity before the vacation is kind of like this. It's like a smooth line, but towards the vacation, it sort of goes up like this and it rockets. And those last couple of days, you're just getting stuff done like there's no end, right? You just, you're creating time, you're getting stuff done. How is it that we have a super enhanced level of productivity right before that vacation point, right? Well, what I want to teach you in this course is that you can have that super high level of productivity always, if you only concertina, squash down your deadlines and your targets. Because, just like the hard drive on your computer, you give yourself more space. Within time, it's full up with crap, right? So our goal in this course is to launch in weeks, if not days, rather than months and years. The result is the same, if not better, because the sooner you get it out, the sooner you learn what the customer wants.